Bas Eickhout from the Greens, thank you very much for joining us on Bloomberg. First of all, it hasn't been a good night for the Greens. What's your reaction to the results we've seen so far?
No, it is a disappointing night for us. That's very clear. We're losing quite some seats. It's mainly coming from France and Germany. Those were our strongholds 5 years ago, of course, and we're losing there, so that's very disappointing. Just saying that we also have some good results if we look in Denmark and Sweden, Latvia, Croatia. So we see also gains across Europe. But those numbers are, of course, smaller than the losses we get from France and Germany. So in total, no, it's a disappointing night for us.
Is it a rejection of climate policies by the electorate?
I think it's mainly also very clear that climate was not really a topic these elections. In 2019, these were really at the top end of people's mind. Those were climate elections. That also explained the big results we had in France and Germany. That's clearly not happening this time. So I think it's a kind of a correction to 5 years ago. I don't see this as a flat-out denial of climate policies, because if you look at all the other polls, people still want climate policies. It was just not that top priority when they went to the voting booth.
Are you worried, though, about the policies that are in the Green Deal now being weakened by the next Parliament?
Well, I'm more worried about a very unstable Parliament, so an unpredictable Parliament. And we still need to deliver a lot of things in order to really reach our climate targets. Also for our industry, if you look at the situation of our industry, it's not in a very good shape compared to China and the United States. So there's a lot of action from Europe required, and with the new Parliament, it will become more complicated to get that off the ground. I'm not so much afraid of rolling back on policies that were adopted. I am afraid of, that do we get the policies in place that are really needed for our industry, for example?
Will you support Ursula von der Leyen for a second term as European Commission President? What would you want from her for your support?
Well, I think if we are very concerned about the future of the Green Deal and the future of European democracy, we are willing to fight for that, and that also means that we have to take our responsibilities, and that is also something that we are offering to von der Leyen, and then we will have to sit down and see what we can do together. So there is this possibility and there's this openness from our side, but it's also very clear that Green Deal and democracy are priorities for the Greens that then need to be discussed in a future coalition.
Would you only do that if Ursula von der Leyen didn't do business with members of the ECR group?
Well, it's very clear that we will not be part of any coalition where ECR, ID are part of, but to be very honest, our priorities on Green Deal and democracy, I don't think are the priorities where ECR and ID subscribe to. So I think that already clearly shows that she has an option to go, and will it be more to the right or to the progressive centre? I think the only real pro-European solution is the progressive centre.
You mentioned the loss of seats in France. There's now been a snap legislative election called in France as well. Is that going to be bad news for the Greens?
Well, I think it's going to be bad news for France in a whole. So I think Macron is taking a huge gamble here. I think he just wants the far right to take some responsibility, and that's what he's doing now. I think that's a big gamble he's taking, because what will that do with France? How will that impact the presidential elections later on? I think he's gambling here. I don't think that's what Europe needs at the moment. But yeah, c'est la vie is probably what they say in France.
Bas Eickhout from the Greens, thank you very much for speaking to Bloomberg.
Thank you.